Day 4, decided to take these, well, this A-arm off on this side because of that issue with the shock mount there. It's a 18mm spanner. It's just 2 nuts. There's one there, and then there's the other one. Well, you can't see it because it's got this. There you go. This is the cable for the battery to the starter. So it's just double nutted on this one and then single nutted there. So I'm going to undo these 2 nuts and then the A-arm will slide off that way. I've ended up having to undo the nuts with the impact. 17mm, whatever that is, an Imperial on this side. And there's the nuts off. So now that A-arm should just slide that way. There we go, that's off. And then lift it up. It should just drop out this side. There you go. Simple as that. So there's the 2 bolts that hold the A-arm in place. You have to be careful with these when you're hopping because these love to come loose when you hit the switches. So I'm going to clean all this up, I think. Degrease it, give it a coat or something just to tidy this up. I'm going to cut this mount off because this one's fouling on the A-arm. This one shouldn't be a problem. Next job, cut that off. I'll take the A-arm off on the other side as well, I think. I wasn't going to, but I think it'd be beneficial so I can give all of this a good wire brush. And a coat of some sort of, just a stone chip or something, nothing too fancy, just to make it look a little bit more presentable. I've cut that off. So that's the other shock mount that was fouling on that A-arm. Like I say, we'll leave that one on for now because I don't want to get too close to this, plus it's not really causing any issues. I'm just going to get a flat disc and take this little nubbin off, and then I'm going to decide on how to clean these frame rails. Stick this A-arm on a jack and get rid of these cable ties. There's the frame rail now, cleaned up, degreased, wiped, just waiting for it to dry a little bit. I'll blast it with a bit of white spirits, some sort of solvent, and then try and give it a bit of a top coat or something just to pretty it up a little bit. It's not going to be perfect, but it'll be a vast improvement on where it was before. And I've also, just while I was at it, just degreased inside the trunk and then wiped it down with white spirits. It is solid in there, very, very solid. Once that solvent has flashed off, give it a quick rub down, panel wipe, and then see if we can make it look a little bit prettier with a bit of bed liner paint. Also today the plan is to reinforce the inner edge of these trailing arms and mount the power balls. That should be done today. So aim for the end of the day, let's get these frame rails painted, get the rams, cups, coils and everything fitted, A-arms back on, trailing arms back on. This is wishful thinking, whether I can get all this done today I'm not sure, but that's the plan. Whew, it's cold today, really, really cold. Anyway, this is where I've got up to. Sorry I haven't been filming these bits, but it's just not very exciting, is it? It's only been a case of blasting the metal with wire wheels and brushes and whatever else I've got, and then degreasing and then rubbing and painting basically. So that's just a coat of stone chip on the frame rail just to help protect it. Just think it looks a little bit better too. I've also cleaned and degreased in there, given everything a rub down, and then giving it a top coat. That's like a bed lining paint. That's just to give the floor a protective coating. There was a few areas where rust was starting to show through, but on surface rust, nothing bad. And that'll form the basis of the boot install. I don't know whether long term he wants to carpet it out or what, but at least you know underneath all of the rack, the batteries and the pumps and whatever carpet you've got, that trunk floor is protected for a little bit longer. Day 4. I might have already done an introduction. I'm not sure where I'm up to. I think this is the 5th or 6th day on the car, I think, but in the video on YouTube it'll be the 4th video. Yesterday it was freezing cold, like too cold to work outside. I did as much as I could, but a lot of what I did was indoors because it was nice and warm. I assembled these post pumps ready to go in the car. Now on the YouTube channel already, there's assembling the pump, the bare pump, without all the ancillary equipment, all your dumps and checks and slow down valves, etc. So I will do another video on this part of the assembly. On the pressure ports, I put a straight in the back and an elbow in the front, so the hoses don't go round the front of the pumps, they'll go that way and that way. So position in the two corners next to the two battery trays. That's pretty much the pumps built up. It's only a case of getting them bolted in, add the hoses, wiring the dumps, and then wire it up. The other thing that I spent a bit of time on yesterday was these rear trailing arms. Going to be one of the first jobs today if the weather improves. I know it's a lot warmer today, it's about 10, no, it's a bit more than that. I think it's about 12 or 13 degrees today, but with the warmth, so has come the rain. There's the trailing arms. I've cleaned up where the power balls will mount. The power balls, I've also cleaned the bottom of those up ready for welding. They'll get mounted on there, and then on the underside of the trailing arm, I've made this out of some real heavy duty box steel with angles cut off each end to sit inside there, and then these will get a weld inside these two edges just to reinforce this arm. Not that I think this arm isn't strong enough already, but it seemed like a fairly straightforward and sensible thing to do, knowing that the weight of those 6 batteries and the 2 pumps and then hitting a few switches is going to be all on this arm, and what I didn't want this arm to do was collapse underneath the strain, so it's just a case of boxing it in. You can just get a piece of flat steel and weld it on the top of there. These arms will then go on once they're assembled. I'll put a little bit of paint on them, a bit of stone chip or something, but long term they're going to need new bushes. They will come off again at some point. Zach will have the arms maybe blasted or just cleaned up somehow, and then powder coated or painted, new bushes in, bosh, ready to go. They can be powder coated with these power balls in. You just take that off, take the ball out, and then just protect that bit. So yeah, that is the trailing arms. There's the other one. So that's one of today's jobs, which will factor into day 4. So the weather appears to be holding off. First job is mount the power balls, which have centered. Measured them, centered them to that little hole there, and then I'm just going to run a tack on either side just to hold it in place, and then flip it over and blast some welds. So this is the passenger side now, which we wrote on there. This is the axle end, which I wrote here. You can just about make it out. I've put the grease nipple into the side that it's easiest to get at, so from the wheel side rather than the inside of the car, so you can service that ball joint. What's that done? I'm just going to tack this in place. I'm going to run a wire wheel. Let's see if we can get some tacks going in there. Some little short runs just to get it in place. That's not going to come out of there now. I'm just going to clean up in there with a wire wheel, and then I'm going to blast some welds in. I'm going to go in sections not to get it too hot, because although these bushes are going to be replaced, I don't want these ones to melt, so I can run it on the car. That's all the welding complete on these arms. Had to do them in little stages because I didn't want them to get too hot. We've cleaned up quite nice and strong now. Just giving them a wipe down. I have to give them another wipe because I've just touched them with my fingers. I'm just going to give them a coat of paint and then probably just put a bit of underseal on these to protect them. Long term, probably going to get blasted, maybe powder coated, painted, and then new bushes. So that's them done. Other than a bit of paint, I've started to clean up these areas that I need to drill out. So I'm going to weld a little washer or something in there. So I've got a centre for a hole saw. I'm going to drill through that and open up this welded hole so the ram can come up through. I've done the same on this side, but I've also, because if you remember on this side from an earlier video, there'd been relocated shock mounts which have been cut off on this side. Now look at the welding on that. Yikes. It looks like to get the mounts off they've cut out a big section. I think this is part of the steering box, so if I take this bolt out, I'm going to try and flap disc as much of this as I can in the space that I've got, and then run some fresh welds over the top because this is horrendous. No offence to whoever did that, but it needs a little bit more work to make it a little bit more stronger. There's a bit of a weld there as well, so I'm going to continue to blast this with a wire wheel. The intention was always to clean this side anyway. I'm just going to wait until after I've had some lunch because I always end up getting covered in whatever grease and shit this is, excuse my language. So yeah, a bit of extra work, a bit of a pain, but I'll do the best that I can with it. I mean, you can see there, like where they've cut with a cutting blade and an angle grinder and not welded that gap up. Get the weld around the front, clean that up, probably clean this frame rail first, all of it, just to check there's no more bits and bobs that need doing. Grind this down, weld this, weld some little washers in there, same on the other side, and then drill out ready for the rams to go in. So I've been cleaning this frame up, trying to get it ready for some sort of paint, some sort of coating. Doesn't look too bad. Cleaned up quite nice. Probably need to give it a little bit more there. Essentially, yeah, this is the attempted bit of reinforcement. I'm no metallurgist, but that isn't doing anything. This is where would have been that shock mount that was fouling on the A-arm. It looks like when somebody's cut that off on this side but not the other side, they've made a right mess of the frame. This is actually a plate. I'm going to try and clean this up as best as I can with a flat disc and then just run some extra welds in. I need to leave this because this is for one of the steering box bolts. This is the holes for the brake line mount, but because of that length of that flexi line there, I might mount this further down. I'm not sure yet. I might mount it further here, or I might put it here, just to give this flex a little bit more movement when it's lifting up and down. We'll see. I'll leave that till last, I think. So yeah, I'm going to clean this up. It's going to be difficult getting up there because I don't want to take any more of the brakes apart to take this off, but I'm going to clean it up as best I can. It's just bits like this, man. Just a shocking bit of welding, and this gap here, that bit isn't too bad, but yeah, I'm going to clean it up as best as I can. And then same as the other side, it's going to get some stone chip just to protect it until a later date where the plan is for it to get fully undersealed, so all this will be cleaned up. I'll come up alright with a bit of a jet wash and a bit of degrease, and then under seal it so it's all nice and clean under here. Okay, I've done the best that I can with this messed up frame. Turns out it was pretty bad. The holes here and here, I've managed to fill them up, tidy it up. Should be okay. Give it a nice coat of stone chip in a minute. Got all the white down. Welded in a washer into the top of those upper shock mounts, and I'll be drilling them out with a hole saw. I've got a, now this is a Milwaukee hole dozer, 1 3/4 inch hole saw. I'm just going to use that centre there for the drill bit. Slowly drill out that for the ram to pop up through there. That's the end of day 5, 4, day 4, yeah, episode 4. Today's task was to weld up these trailing arms, put a bit of paint on them, power balls are mounted. The main aim was to try and get this really dodgy bit of frame looking a bit better, a bit stronger. I think we've managed to succeed. Here's that random reinforcement plate that's doing some sort of nothing as far as I'm concerned anyway. So that's that frame rail done. And to cut out the ram holes using that hole saw, probably just seen, that's just had a quick coat of paint as well, and that's the hole that's come out that was welded back in. You can see my little washer tack welded to the top. Obviously the welding doesn't have to be that good. And then you get this big slug of steel that comes out. Whoops, that's gone forever. So the ram can come up through that hole. It's the same on the other side. And just touched up the stone chip paint on this frame rail. So we're at a stage now where tomorrow, all being well, we can fit those front rams, top hats, cups, coils, etc. Put the upper A-arms back on, bolt everything back together, and that's the front done, minus the wheels. And the rear, pretty much the same. Those trailing arms will be finished, so we can bolt them back up, bolt the shock absorbers back up, put the rams in, put the coils in, stick them through them holes that we looked at up inside the trunk floor, and again maybe test fit the wheels, make sure there's no clearance. There shouldn't be any clearance issues because it ran, I believe, 13x7s in its previous build. So it's getting dark, I'm going to tie up for the day, and that's about it. Tomorrow we continue. Peace.